Alright everyone, welcome to Vicky 3 Academy. I'm Walker, and here we are on We Play Games discussing Turmoil. So, Turmoil is one of the two main consequences of radicals in Victoria 3. For those of you who are familiar, radicals, you'll see they have two main penalties. They're going to give you Turmoil due to radicals, and they're also going to have an interest group approval penalty. So the interest group approval penalty, for those of you who don't play a lot, you can mitigate a lot of the interest group approval penalties by just doing things that your interest groups want you to do in terms of law work. So you should be able to mitigate that problem most of the time. Turmoil, on the other hand, requires a little bit more work other than just like getting laws that you want to have in place anyway. And it can be really important if you don't mitigate it. Reason because it's gonna modify things pretty heavily. It's gonna give you a migration attraction penalty, and it's gonna give you a tax waste penalty. And those are like two of the most important stats in the game. And so just ignoring Turmoil and pretending like it isn't a problem is gonna be bad for you. But fortunately, there are ways out of it. So what does it tell you? It says that if there are radicals there, then turmoil will occur, right? It's equal to the fraction state or culture's workforce that are radical, sure. Cultural turmoil can impact a whole country and is very disruptive, sure. And in fact, turmoil, if it gets high enough, can cause mass migrations out. And so you do need ways to combat it. First and easiest way, of course, is to just make sure that your radicals don't get super duper high. Don't be afraid of taxing people. That's not how you get this many radicals. You get this many radicals by annexing territory at over 100 infamy. And so, you get a lot more radicals from conquest than you would normally. But if you're just like regularly taxing stuff, you should not worry about your turmoil getting that high. However, even if it does, there's a tool built in game right here that negates almost all of the penalties from turmoil for you, and it's dedicated police force, and it's amazing. And if you really are like super concerned about problems from turmoil in the late game, you could switch over to a local police force once your landowners are weak enough to completely mitigate the state penalties from turmoil. Whether or not you want to do that is kind of up to you. You don't want to do it at certain points in the game for sure. Local police force can be annoying, but dedicated police force, this is a banger, right? Minus 75% state penalties from turmoil means that instead of having like unbelievably brutal, terrible turmoil problems, this is a nuisance, right? A 6% penalty on tax waste is like very, very, very much whatever. According to regular calculations, right? That's not a big deal. That's really not a big deal. Some of these turmoil numbers, they're like whatever. Like, what are you gonna do about it? What are you gonna do about it? You gonna overthrow the government? I don't think so. Maybe it's possible. They will try. But like you can mitigate the turmoil also on smaller scale things by just building people. So if you just build a whole bunch of stuff locally, you'll dramatically increase the local standard of living. And by dramatically increasing the local standard of living, you can just build a bunch of loyalists. That's the other thing that you can do. And one of the reasons guaranteed liberties is another really powerful way to combat turmoil is because it gives you an ability to get even more loyalists from standard of living increases. And so if you're conquering territory that is not fully developed, then using guaranteed liberties lets you just like build loyalty into the people who are there. If you don't have that, then it might make sense for you to pick up one of these two. These are not necessarily going to combat turmoil directly, but they can help if you have revolution or secession problems caused by turmoil. Or by interest groups out of your radicals, and so don't be worried about it. You've got plenty of ways to deal with this stuff. Plenty of ways to deal with this stuff. Just keep an eye on your turmoil, and if you feel like your radical problems are getting out of control, then go ahead and just get up a dedicated police force and go ahead and max it out. Don't be afraid to have level 5 law enforcement. Occasionally you'll get like one of those stupid things that says like downgrade your law enforcement so that way like intelligentsia are happier or whatever. But like whether or not you do that is something that's just a value calculation. All right. Yeah, that's turmoil. That's a quick one. All right. Take care.